All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to do the corner stop. So the corner stop, what we're going to do, start off with the XY plane. The corner stop is going to be one that I'm going to need to chunk up a little bit. A lot of times I like to do the overall at first, but I'm not going to do the full overall. I'm going to do what's given to me. And I see a dimension of 5 1/4, but instead of 5 1/4, I'm going to deduct 1 1/4 inches, which will get me back to that vertical flat spot that we have. So I'm going to type in 4 inches for that length. Obviously there's different ways of doing it, but this is how I'm going to approach this. And you can follow and find out, if you like this way or not. So I put in the 2.5 inch height that's given. I'm going to go ahead and center this up to the origin. And I like to do that by putting this dimension in here with a formula divided by 2. And I'm going to do the left and right centering. Click on that 4-inch dimension divided by 2. And I'm centered up 4 inches by 2.5. So pay attention to how I get that 4-inch. So I'm going to finish my sketch. And I'm going to do an extrusion here. But instead of, I always do an extrusion all the way back behind my plane. But in this case here, I'm going to put in 4 inches because I get that 4 inches from that radius, that 2-inch radius, which would be the maximum amount of that depth. So the 2-inch radius, doubled for my distance of this part would be 4 inches. So I'm going to do a symmetrical extrusion, which will keep my origin plane in the center. All right, now, once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and put a sketch on the bottom. And in here, I'm just going to draw my circle out here. Okay, draw a circle just almost at random. Now, I am going to put a dimension on it. And instead of a 2-inch radius, it needs to be a 4-inch diameter. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to dimension this thing. This is where I got that 4 inches. I'm going to dimension the center point to that edge. I'm going to put that dimension in at 1.25, which is 1.25 inches. So I'm given that 5 1/4 dimension. So to the center, from the back edge to the center of this circle here. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to center it up height-wise. So what I could do is I could put a dimension from the edge to the center of that, and I can make that 2 inches, and that should center it up. And notice how it's fully constrained right now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create a little bit more geometry here. And I'm going to put a straight line and connect this here. And then I'm going to draw a line down all the way to the bottom here. I'm going to draw another line to close this off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this up. So let's go ahead and trim some of these extra lines out of here that we don't need. And there we go. So actually, that's messed up there. I did not want to trim that line down there. All right, so we're good now. I'm going to finish my sketch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this up, but I'm going to have to probably do a little bit of math here. I'm going to extrude up to find out how far I need to extrude up. So if my overall height is 2.5 inches, there is a dimension, it's 1.5 that drops down. So if I deduct off that, I get a balance of 1 inch. So that's where I'm going to get that height right there. Okay? All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put these wedge tapers on this thing. So how I accomplish that is I'm going to start a 2D sketch, and I'm going to swing this around to the back side. 2D sketch. And whenever there's a wedge, I always just think of it as a triangle, actually. So I'm going to draw a triangle here. And I'm going to draw this triangle without any dimensions. So I'm going to get the triangle in here first. And then I don't think there is a line there. So draw this triangle in there first, and then I put dimensions on it. So I'm going to place a dimension on the back of that triangle to the, it's 3 inches. So from the front edge here to the back of this triangle point, you got 3 inches. Okay. Now the next piece of information that we're given this angle right here. This is a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to type 45, hit enter. And that's all we need. Notice it's fully constrained. I'm going to finish my sketch, and I'm going to extrude cut. Select that profile, do an extrude cut, and just do a distance of all. Hit OK, and I'll spin this around. You'll see that there's my wedge or my chamfer. I'll do the same thing on this other portion. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a 2D sketch on the bottom of this part. Okay, I'm going to roll it around just so I have a better orientation of where I'm at. And once again, it's a wedge, so I'm going to draw a triangle. So I'm going to snap from this corner, draw down, and remember, no dimensions at first. No dimensions, just draw the actual triangle. Okay, and once I have that triangle drawn, then I'll put my dimensions in. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dimensions in here. And I know from that back corner that I am 2 1/4 inches down. So I can reference from here to here, 2 1/4, 2.25 inches. And then from here to here, that's going to be 60 degrees. Okay, so I can finish my sketch. And let's make sure that I have everything done correctly. So if I look at the drawing and I look at this orientation, my 2 1/4 is actually referencing from the wrong spot. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back and edit that sketch. Right click and edit that sketch. Spin it around so I'm looking directly at that sketch. And that 2 1/4 is going to be referencing, let me delete that dimension. I wanted to reference that 2 1/4 from here to here. That's going to be 2.25 that way. So don't forget to double check your work and look and see. Sometimes get out of that sketch and look around and see where those dimensions are being referenced from. Okay. Now I'm going to extrude cut this profile, this triangle, do a cut, and I'll also do a distance of all. Okay. So let me go to home, and that's what's going to look like thus far. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this circle here and cut this section out. So let's go and start a 2D sketch on this plane, the top plane, and I'm going to come in and draw a circle. And what I'll do is I'm going to actually snap it right directly to this edge. And I'm going to apply my dimensions. That dimension, the radius is 1.25, so the diameter is going to be 2.5. That's all I really need, because notice it's fully constrained because I locked it into that midpoint. Now, if it wasn't at that midpoint, I'd have to do otherwise. I'd have to put a dimension on there. So I can go ahead and finish my sketch. I'm going to do an extrude cut. I'm going to cut down the distance of 0.75. That's what the drawing specifies. Hit OK and take a look. So, I had a full circle that I used, and it extruded that down. It cut that out. And, over here it's cutting in air. It doesn't matter. It's not there. You don't see it. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to, instead of doing a 2D sketch and doing an extrude cut, I want you to get used to using the hole tool. So we're going to use the hole tool. And this one's easy because what we're going to do is we're going to use a concentric reference. Concentric means sharing the same center. So I'm going to choose the plane first, and then the concentric reference is right here. I'm going to choose this arc. That arc is going to share the same center as this hole. That hole has a diameter of 1.25. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 1.25. And everything else is good. I'm going to hit apply, and we're good to go. So the next one, I'm not that lucky. I have to go do a linear placement. And what I'll do is I'll click on this edge, and the reference, actually, that's wrong. What I got to do is choose that face, and then I got to try to move this out of the way. So let's undo that and go back into that hole tool again. So we're going to choose the face, which is, this is the face right here. And then I'm going to choose a reference, this edge right here, as the first reference. That reference number is 2 inches. Okay. Then the second reference is going to be here. It's going to be 1.25. Right. And then the hole diameter, I have to key that in. That's 0.75 diameter. I'm going to hit apply, and that's all there is to it. that is the corner stop.